Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm gonna be giving you part 10 of What If Naruto was a Uchiha that created his own village. Remember to get this one too 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Gilgamesh Reincarnation. Yes guys, I indeed have more channels. All the links will be placed in the description, so don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this? Begin now guys. So the last part that we left off, we were in the middle of a war. Naruto gave the Raikage and Oniki one chance. As he powered down the defenses, he gave them one chance to surrender and stop this before bloodshed. However, they refused to listen to what he had to say. They did not care about his opinions and what he had to say. So this had to be done the hard way then. The defenses had fallen, as the tail beasts were going to bomb the village. They were heavily mistaken though, as the sky seemed to parted. However, the aircrafts that were being created within the land of snow, now the land of spring, were descending downwards. Uzumaki's, Uchiha's, and several other different members were down on them. Everyone was shocked by that, as they were unable to fathom the technology that the village possessed, having no idea about the collaboration and the growing power that was the land of spring. This was now problematic for them, greatly so, as the tail beasts found themselves and their attack deflected by Fuinjutsu. Uzumaki's jumped down towards them and started to use their sealing chains to bind and restrict their movements. Everything happened so fast, it was chaotic and it was quick. Naruto told them to activate the seal. Both Onki and the Raikage was teleported a far distance away, the both of them rushing to return back. However, Naruto stepped to the forefront. Standing behind him was the others. As they all marched forward, what followed was a one-sided massacre, ensuring that no one from his village fall. Tsunade was preparing to see, or waiting on the medics to bring back wounded ninjas, but absolutely none of that happened. None of their ninjas got struck down. None of them fall in the battle. As Naruto watches Oniki and the Raikage return, he told the others to return back to their station now, as he had to have them involve the support to show the unification of the village, that he wasn't just one man but he was an entire army. Now, as Naruto people stood back, knowing that their life could be taken on the battlefield because Naruto was no longer holding back. A one-sided massacre then ensued. Naruto moved as a one-man army, as he was a beast on the battlefield, ripping and tearing through everything in his path. He was a monster. All of them were shocked. Even the Raikage and Oniki, who were on the battlefield as well, found themselves completely taken aback. He was just one man, and yet He was dealing with them like they were a bunch of kids, tearing through their army, running through their forces. However, he was still one man. Their strength started to overwhelm him slightly. However, Naruto stopped holding back that much and released a large quantity of his power. Activating his Mangekyou, we learn about Naruto's special Mangekyou ability. Naruto was able to create gaps between chakra. Yes, that is how he was able to hit Obito. Naruto could create gaps in any chakra form. Techniques or anything else, he could create gaps, opening up a gap in between which he could punch or kick straight through. But that wasn't all. Naruto could create one gap one place and another one somewhere else, and then pull them together, literally flipping anything, causing mass damage and chaos. He did that on the army, as many of them were crushed by the sudden flip. Many of them sunk to the bottom of the ocean, unable to come back up. Naruto decided to show the real power that he possessed and summon his Susanoo. The monstrosity took form. It was large and colossal, its power exploding outwards. It grabbed onto the Raikage. It proceeded to squish him. Yes, ending his life right there and then. Naruto burned the others. It was a massacre. He then proceeded to end Oniki's life. There was a reason why his father was named the dragon as well. The Red Dragon, a technique that his father specialized in, that Naruto now possessed as he summoned red flames. These did not just burn, they destroyed matter, as Naruto used the red flames to wipe out the other remaining forces. Both sides had brought over 10,000, equaling up to 20,000 plus, and all of them fell. Not a single member from the Uchiha nation fell. Not a single one of them. Naruto stood proud as a Kage, untouchable. In the face of certain death and chaos, he led his clan, he led his people to victory. Returning back to the village, as Naruto stood in front of all of his people, they celebrated and cheered, as they feared that their life would be wiped out like it was in the past. But no, their leader prevented that, as they cheered his name. All around the Elemental Nation, news started to spread about what happened. It was a truly shocking thought. May had sent their people there on boat. However, they did not need their help, but it was to intervene if things got too bad. But still, it just showed the might and power that this unified village possessed, and it was a power that could not be trifled with. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the play check of yourself so to begin this new episode. We begin this episode right in the middle of an epic showdown. A man possessing silver hair. He was not wearing a shirt. His body seemed to be covered by snowflakes. His entire body seemed to be producing this coldness. Everything around him was frozen. There were gigantic glaciers with a soft, mirror-like reflection. However, it was made from ice. He was right in the center of the four of them. His hands were bound by chains. He was raging to break free. Over to the side was a red-headed man. He was wearing a vest. It was a sleeveless vest with a dark shirt underneath. The vest had a rectangular red mark right at the breastplate. He was wearing long black pants and sandals. His body seemed to be trembling slightly from the cold. He had scuff markings over him to show that he was just in a battle, as his red hair was blowing. On the ground there was a Fuinjutsu marker. His hands was resting on it. He seemed to be the one powering it. Over to the next side, there was a younger boy. He also possessed red hair as well. On his jacket he possessed two rectangular shaped bars, other than the man that possessed one. He also had his hand on the seal that was currently holding the man with a strange ice release ability. The older man shouted out, "Do it now!" he yelled. In front of the man that was currently trying his hardest to break free was two people. The both of them were running as fast as they could. As they went through hand sign in perfect synchrony, combining their techniques together, the girl shouted out, "Wind style, eternal drill." The boy that was running alongside her shouted out, "Fire style, inferno swallow." The collaboration attack that they both released combined together. The man, who found himself unable to break free in time, eyes went wide as he screamed. The two red-headed individuals leaped away as a technique slammed into the man. The inferno rage, it consumed and then erupted into a violent blast. Those were no ordinary techniques. It was actually created by those two, personally, as their ranks has not yet been determined, but as you could see, the sky itself seemed to clear up as the heat from the jutsu seemed to burn away a lot of the mist in the air. And finally, the sun rays shined down on the glaciers, bringing light to the land. This was the land of spring, formerly known as the land of snow, as once again, another conflict had been sorted out. Koyuki, life was threatened not too long ago, as someone wanted to put an end to her life. She started to hear rumors and whispers. However, Koyuki was prepared for this. She had one of her people, as they were close to the individual that was causing all of this. It was actually one person. His name was Ranru. His parents had been here for their entire life, as he believed that he was a cold-hearted citizen of the land of snow, not what it was anymore. Koyuki had changed that by keeping the generators active, taking away the snow. Most of the people that possess abilities needed the snow. The problem was, there was no longer any here for them to use, so most of them had to change a lot about themselves and their fighting style. But he would not stand for that, so he plotted to kill Koyuki, a coup. This had been going on for some time, as he was able to gather a few ninjas on his side, those that also wanted a change as well. However, Koyuki forces fought them off, as it came down to a battle where her guards came out on top. However, that was just the beginning. He harnessed the power of the glaciers, performing a very secret ancient technique. He was able to use the snow to empower himself, the light from the glaciers that would block out the sun and submerge the land once again in everlasting snow. That is why Koyuki decided to ask for help from the Uchiha nation, and they arrived. The battle was hard fought, but in the end, the man's body fell from the sky as he collapsed, his final breath being taken. Even though he just wanted the land to return back to normal, he went the completely wrong way. Looking on at what the damage they caused was Mito and Sasuke. The both of them had grown up somewhat. Yes, they were older. Mito and Sasuke were also wearing the vests. Mito's vest was open, though she was wearing an orange shirt underneath. They also had two stripes on their vests. It was a representation of their rank. 3 was the lowest, 2 was middle ground, and 1 was the highest. In terms of their ninja status, however, the village has several other groups, similar to what the other nations take as envoys, but there were many others. You had the Alphas, a very powerful group. They mostly dealt with very high-ranking and dangerous missions, more so that the normal ninjas could not handle. You had the Trackery group. They mostly focused on subduing and retrieving as well. And you had the Hunters that went for the kill. They might seem similar to the Tracker group, but they were not. They were a group that brought back with an almost 100% successful rate The hunter group was sent out to kill and annihilate threats. Yes, the Uchiha nation had became public some time ago. It has been 1 year and 8 months since the great tragedy. That is what it was known as by the nations that suffered the great tragedy. A lot has happened since then. Konoha has been extremely quiet. Extremely. Not making a move or a sound. It was the same for the Hidden Sun as well. They were extremely quiet, as they were not doing anything. The world was at a standby. It has been for some time now. Kiri was thriving. Yes. Being allied to one of the greatest nations in growing, Kiri was thriving well. Uchiha, they were also thriving as well. Now, their ninjas were able to go out as they take part in missions without fearing any further repercussion or attacks from any unlike sources. A lot has happened to make this change. A lot of blood has been shed to make this, and each and every one of them was caused because they simply did not listen. Mito picked herself up as she looked out. Both her and Sasuke stepping forward. The other Uzumaki with the 2 marks was a teammate of theirs. At first, they started out with 3 like any other. However, after a couple of months, it was determined that they were worthy of elevating their ranks. Mito and Sasuke and several others were much stronger because they spent majority of their time training when the village was at risk. However, they all still had to start from 3 ranks, as they were working their way up to having 1 rank on their vests as they turned to see the remaining snow ninjas heading their way. As for the Uchiha nation inside, the village had developed extremely so, as another hospital was now situated inside. The land had been expanded, forming new lands within the ocean, stabilizing them with seals, bringing them together. The land had been expanded to place new attraction and new ways of living. More hotels were placed, more villas. Now that the village was publicly open, many that Naruto had signed with was coming to the village. Yes, people were even having a trip there to relax. Everything about it was flawless, and their technology had improved to great heights. They now have fully functional aircrafts on standby. Long traveling became a thing of the past because they now take to the skies. Many other nations was trying to be on the chopping block to receive these technologies, but a lot had to go through before that was a thing. However, the Uchiha nation was growing in great heights. Koyuki and her nation being a big part of that as well, and Kiri was also in the flow as well, as they were the next to elevate their status. The other nations were not so great. Even after a year and couple of months, they were still nowhere near to recovering their numbers. Absolutely nowhere close. Their nations were still in peril. They were stretched to the bone. They had to forcefully send out ninjas after ninjas to make up for the missions that they had to take. Some clients even leaving them, moving on to something else. Yes, things were bad for them. They sent word. It was 1 week after the battle. They wanted a ceasefire. They were begging for a ceasefire. Both of them. They were begging for it because they needed it. They lost 10,000 plus of their own men, wiped out like that, while the opposing force did not suffer a single casualty. That was truly bad on them, as their village was still in peril. The councils had to come together and speak. They even sent representatives from their nations. The councils, even the daimyo of the stone, and the daimyo of lightning wished to speak with Naruto. Uchiha did not possess a daimyo, as Naruto was in control of the entire surrounding land, not just the village alone. Because of their expansion, many would think that it would be encroaching on other lands, but the sea was vast and great. The daimyos had a conversation with Naruto, as if he decided to retaliate now, it would be destruction. They were surprised and shocked, as Naruto did not choose to do that, despite the fact that it would be perfect for him to do so and wipe them away, but he did not want that. They come to realize that Oniki and the Raikage were the ones responsible for this all, while no one would say that out loud because of their loss, but it is. He gave them so many chances over and over. He pleaded with them to take it, but every chance they refused. The council and the daimyos were surprised that Naruto actually stuck to his word. Yes, he did. He stuck to his word and did not do anything. They could never be allies, never, but a ceasefire was drawn, so there would be no more bloodshed. Too many blood has already been spilled. Smaller nations even thought it was a good idea to try to overpower them, but they were still amongst the Great Five, despite that title not meaning much anymore because a single nation was able to body them completely. That is what is happening within the public's eye. However, there were many other things that many people were not aware of. For one thing, the one-tailed Jinchuriki, Gaara, was killed during the Chunin exams. Secondly, Taki, the village was attacked, as some of their guards were killed in the process, and their Jinchuriki was kidnapped. There were rumors and speculations going around, but no one could prove anything. None of the assailants were caught or killed, so no one could prove anything. At the moment though, Danzo's Shimura could be seen walking, as he was somewhere underground in a strange facility. That is when he came across a glass. Standing there, Danzo gazed down, as there was a deep room, gazing downwards. Someone arrived on the opposite side. The person was already smirking. Well, let us watch a show. The person was none other than Orochimaru of the Sannin, the man that just recently attacked the village, the scum that killed many people in his attack. And yet, here was the Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, with the man acting calm as ever. As the both of them looked down, Orochimaru gave the signal as an iron door opened up. Stepping out of that iron door was something inhuman. This was not a human being. However, it had features like one. Even if it was no longer. The thing stepped out. As it looked around, its body was brown like sand. Its eyes, if you could call them that, was two holes on its face. There was no life, nothing, just holes. It moved, its feet shaking. It had the standard build of a man in his early 20s. Yet its body had this hunch, its arms dragging slightly when it did on the ground. It started to step forward. The opposite door opened up as something else emerged. This was a failed experiment of Orochimaru. The guy looked rather crazy. The moment he set eyes on the monstrosity, he lost his cool and his skin started to change to a grey color. His hair spiked out. He roared and charged forward. However, the thing raised its hand and punctured him. Sand bullets slamming into his stomach. But they seemed to piss him off more as the pain enraged him. He shot forward, however. When he swiped at the monstrosity, his feet sinked into its flesh. The thing then lashed out and dragged its claws. Its hand simply shifted in one moment. It ripped across his chest, his stomach, guts leaking out. It then ripped him apart with its bare hands. Orochimaru then went through hand sign before holding his hand up. The thing body spasmed slightly before it looked up, seemingly looking at them. But the glass could not be seen through from its area. It was a one-way glass. It turned as the metal door opened up. It returned back inside. Orochimaru turned his head, so did Danzo, to the monitor in the room. The thing simply lied down on the floor and went to sleep. Well, at least the control over this one is much better than the others that you had to put down. Yes, those were unfortunate, Orochimaru said. Now you might be asking what the hell was going on. Well, it was simple. Danzo was a conniving bastard that chose to put his own village aside in order to get what he wanted. Yes, he chose to put everything aside to get what he wanted. Every single thing. Even the fact that Orochimaru caused the death of many, including Hiruzen, well, he did not care. The one tail was not dead. Gaara was alive and inside. But by now Gaara's mind was broken. Ever since the capture, which Danzo did. Yes, Danzo was the one. He was the one. Remember, there were a few months before the attack on Uchiha Nation. That meant all this time Gaara had been there. To him, it has been over 2 years plus. They had not removed the beast from him, simply tampered with the seal so they could use the chakra. But he wasn't the only one. Fu, that was her name. She was also here as well. Fu was a young girl that was forcefully made a Jinchuriki, and now her life was misery and agony. Orochimaru seek to become perfect. Yes, he seek to become perfect. However, he desired the perfect vessel to do that. And there was one that he desired. There was no one that knew the schedule of the Uchiha Shinobis. No one knew their schedule, so they wouldn't be able to tell when they were going on missions and when to attack, so that was a problem. However, Orochimaru, just like Danzo, craved power, information, knowledge. So they would not stop at anything in order to get that. And the Uchiha Nation was holding back so much of it, including many tail beasts. Yes, the tail beasts from the both nations had been taken. That meant they now had the 9, the 3, the 2, the 8, the 4, the 5. They were extremely powerful. Extremely so. So that was a huge problem for them. Well, for Danzo mostly. However, given recent events, they realized that attacking them would be stupid because they would be wiped out. While Konoha was powerful, they didn't have the manpower like the other two nations, so they would be stupid to do so. So, they started to work. Some of the best scientists that, well, some were paid and some were forcefully worked, came together. Fuinjutsu, sealing, even some technology. They were able to create a first of its kind, a miniature tail beast, using the power of Shikaku, mixed with a human man, using his chakra as a battery as he burned his life force out, turning him into a mindless behemoth. Orochimaru placed a seal inside of his chest, right on his heart that he still possessed. However, the heart was completely gone after the full submerge, but the seal was inside of him, giving Orochimaru control. Danzo was given a full detail of this seal. As much as he was working with the Sannin, trust was never a strong thing for him, Never. So yes, here they were. They were creating a goddamn army. An army of Jinjulikis. When the tail beast chakra run low, they simply had to wait for it to replenish. With these numbers that they were imagining, they could bring the Uchiha nation to its knees. However, that wasn't all. At the hidden rain, it wasn't raining. No, the village was calm and dry. One day, he had told himself, with the power that he possessed, he would be able to stop the rain, stop the island from its continuous tears. And he was successful, but along the way he lost. He lost it. He lost his drive. He lost his goal. He lost what he truly was. The death of his best friend had him spiraling to levels that he could never recover from. Until now, of course. Stepping forward into the light, his red hair showing, his renegade eyes gazing over his village. The once sickly broken man was now back on his feet. Nagato was back on his feet, gazing down towards the village. Nagato had made good on his promise, and Naruto did the same. For them to have a conversation, for them to actually speak to one another. And over the past year and month, they have met on several occasions. Nagato had finally brought up the true topic that the both of them needed to talk about. However, he let his own view on his power get in the way. His arrogance of being a god, as he claimed himself to be. Nagato tried to kill the masked man. Naruto was the one that told him who it really was. They always knew that he was lying after all. Naruto was Madara's grandson. If the masked man was Madara, why wasn't Naruto in the fold? Why had he never spoken about him with the power that he possessed? Nagato tried to set him up, to end his life. They had been watching him for years now, understanding his abilities, his patterns. He figured that he would do the world a favor and erased him. However, he failed. The masked man was able to get away. He used Zetsu as a distraction. Yes, even Zetsu betrayed the organization, quickly flanking to his side. However, the organization known as the Akatsuki was no more. Nagato disbanded the group. Given the fact that there were so many powerful members, those that were forced to do as they were told, understanding the true gap between their power, as he had defeated most of them to show them that he was the stronger. His words came as a true shocker to all of them. They couldn't believe it. However, it has been some time now. The S-rank ninjas were over the elemental nation. They were still amongst them. Of course they were, as their life was still intact. However, Nagato was no longer the leader of the organization. Throughout his conversations with Naruto, he was able to see what was truly in front of him, what he truly had to focus on, what he had been neglecting for all of these years. How he was on his feet was Naruto. Nagato had found Naruto to be like Yaiko, just like him, his words, what he seek for this world, he was just like him. So he trusted him and showed him who he really is. For him to understand his pain, they need to understand one another. It was a very intense conversation. It seems like they would come to blow, but they did not. Their words were filled with such passion. It was the first time that Nagato truly looked back on his ideals, and everything shattered and crumbled as he realized how far he's fallen. That was another reason why he disbanded the organization. The organization was never supposed to be like this. This is not what Yaiko created, and it was never this. Filled with criminals, that's who were just hired guns. This was not it. The organization, filled with criminals, did all sorts of underhanded missions to support their cause, but no longer. His village has been closed off for a long while now. The daimyo of the land, of water, was truly baffled. The land of water was split between two. There was another daimyo of the land of water, but here is situated on the island. This island had taken that name because of the constant rainfall. The man was shocked when someone came to pay him a visit from the hidden rain. The village was basically running as a separate entity, using the organization to fund everything that was going on. But now, he opened the borders. It was truly shocking. Yes, all of the smaller villages, they couldn't believe what they heard. It was mind-boggling. As Nagato stepped forward as their leader, even his own people were shocked to see him. Many, almost all, never saw him. They saw the angel, but it was the first time they bestowed their sight upon their god. Naruto was able to regenerate his legs using Fuinjutsu, but he needed a powerful chakra source, so he paid the tail beasts a visit and simply asked, returning back with the chakra and what was necessary. Nagato felt movement in his legs for the first time in a very long while. His body needed to supply a large amount of chakra to operate the Rinnegan, well, as long as he don't use it for any strenuous techniques. He had the Gedo statue trapped away to never be found by the masked man. The man had been awfully quiet for some time now. Nagato knew that he was up to something, but whatever it was, when he made a move, they would shut him down. His village was also reaching new heights, changing as well, as the Uchiha nation was becoming friends and allies of the Land of Rain, bringing new prosperity and hope to the village. He gazed up towards the heavens as the ray of sunshine bathed down towards his land, as a happy smile of resolute fixated on his face. Meanwhile, that was going on. It was later in the night as Naruto arrived. He did not make much noise as he entered his home. He arrived towards a cute scene. As he leaned up against the wall, he simply sat there and he watched her. There was a happy smile on Naruto's face. Lying on the couch was Ursa, with a little crackers on her stomach, using her stomach as a leverage to flip the cracker in the ear before catching it in her mouth. She squealed in delight and happiness when she did, finding a lot of joy out of what she did. She heard the chuckle as she turned, looking rather embarrassed at being caught. Naruto walked over with a smile on his face. "Come on," he said, as she was trying to hide her gaze away. It was really cute. As she turned her gaze away from him, acting all childish for some reason, as he poked her belly, before leaning down and placing a gentle kiss on it. Her belly was abnormally huge. Well, there was a reason. She was pregnant. Yes, Ursa was pregnant with Naruto's child. She was around 5 months. She was pregnant with his child. Finding out about that she was pregnant was a very Very, very happy day for Naruto. Extremely so. Itachi had a little girl. They named her after his beloved mother that passed, Mikoto. The little girl was a joy in Itachi's life. The day that she came into the world, he promised that she was everything that he was and everything that he will be. His little baby girl. She was so cute. A lot has happened to Naruto over the time that had passed, and it wasn't easy. Ursa was here for him through what was the horriblest phase of his life. Naruto took everything on his shoulders. He said it himself before, that he would make sure that everyone was okay, even if he had to take everything himself. Ursa thought that he meant by, well, giving up his life, but that didn't come close to what he meant. Naruto did tell them to stay back because he didn't want them to be caught in the attack when he fought, but that wasn't the only reason. He took all of the pain. Naruto's eyes remember every single face of the people that he killed. He lay waste to thousands. It made him sick. While he looked strong on the outside, it made him sick on the inside. Naruto was a Uchiha, and the clan was basically bred for fighting, but his mother was a gentle soul, a Senju, a blessed soft woman. His empathy from her was something that he always had. Naruto wasn't the heartless monster that seek destruction. Those people had no choice. He pleaded with them. He begged them. But he knew if he did not slaughter their forces, they would simply come back. So, he rained down death. On that day, he was the only person on this planet that has taken so many lives, that had massacred so many by themselves. He lay waste to thousands. It started with flashes, but it got worse. Nightmares. Ursa would wake up in the night as he would simply be releasing a blood-curdling scream. She held him. He cried. His mind was plagued by images and memories. Naruto killed thousands. Emotions was a very powerful tool. Naruto went to the head therapist of the village. For the last year, Naruto had sessions with him once a week. The man understood what Naruto was going through, not from a physical standpoint, but Naruto did all of this to spare his people the traumatic event. During the fight, he shot himself down, but his eyes remember every single face that he slaughtered. And it wasn't easy. It was hard. Even now, things are a lot better. Yes, so much better. But still, certain times there were still times when his mind drifted. However, his life was better now, and everything else was better as he was looking forward to having his first child. They wanted to be surprised, so they did not find out if it was going to be a boy or a girl. And that made Naruto happy as he sat there with Ursa. She came off the couch as she lay into his lap, just relaxing with him. The ceasefire had brought peace, as the world was at a complete standby. There might never be another world war if things head this direction. However, greed and rage from the past would always roam, and vengeful emotions was something that could not be stopped. After all, Naruto was a man that did all of this to protect his people, and yet, even he was suffering from the backlash of emotions. And he did, slaughtered thousands upon thousands. Those children of the deceased, friends, family. For now, everything was peaceful. Soon enough, it would not. However, if they could, allow it to be peaceful forever. That was the only thing that they should wish for now. Otherwise, they would just be condemning their man and woman to death all over again. Time skip. Seated. Obito Uchiha was not wearing his mask. As he was seated, Obito was at a loss. He had been for some time now. Everything seemed to be beyond his grasp. Every single thing. Everything. Obito was weak. Gravely so. Not physically, but in terms of overall power. He no longer was a part of a powerful organization. He knew that fighting Nagato would be a stupid idea. They both have been watching him, both Konan and Nagato, going up against the Rinnegan, especially after recent information that the red-haired Nagato had stepped into the public, seen with Naruto Uchiha, the head of the Uchiha nation. Now that would be a very stupid thing to do. He lost so much power in such a short amount of time. He knew that damn Uchiha would get in his way. And now he was at a loss, trying his hardest to regroup his power, but the only person that he was able to get to join his side was Kisame, the only one that actually knew that he was not a fool. Yes, Kisame joined his side. Kisame lived for the battle. He lived for destruction. He lived to test and push himself. So it did not matter what they were doing. He was up to join. Suddenly, Zetsu arrived, and he brought good news. "I found him," Zetsu said. Obito immediately got to his feet upon hearing that, reaching for his mask as he secured it onto his face. Time skip. Orochimaru was in one of his labs around the Elemental Nation, gathering a few of his stuff. Things has been going well for the Sannin, well, despite the fact that he lost his arms. Other than that, things have been looking up. Danzo finally got what he wanted, and the moment that he did, and he came across a roadblock, he brought him into the fray. Danzo were quick, gathering the 1 and the 7 tails. Before anyone else could snap them up, the San was still under the impression that the 1 tails died in the attack, but that was so far from the truth. Orochimaru did not trust Danzo. They didn't trust each other one bit. However, for now they were partners, but the both of them knew that in the long run, their ideals can never coexist together. There will always be one that refuses to bow to the other whims, and that will end up with chaos. But Orochimaru was already plotting for how to handle that. Once he found his perfect vessel, everything will look up for him. Everything will be different, and he could not wait. Orochimaru heard voices, wondering if he was going mad or something. As the space in front of him distorted, someone emerged. A shocked look on the Sannin's face as someone arrived. "We need to talk," the person said. It was the masked man. Time skip. Months went by rather quickly. They seemed to be moving by a lot faster these days. Everything was calm and still, and everything was going and going. Yes, as Naruto celebrates the birth of his son, born with his mother here and his father eyes. He was perfect. They named him Boruto. Boruto. His middle name was Uzumaki. His last name was Uchiha. Boruto Uzumaki Uchiha. A very special boy. Mito was so happy to meet her nephew. From the moment he was brought into this world, he seemed to be a joy, a ray of sunshine. He was already smiling. Naruto placed a hand, a finger forward, and boruto, he held on to it. His eyes closed, but he held on to his hand. Naruto felt this emotion well in his heart, pure love, as he held on to his beautiful wife. Yes, it was a beautiful ceremony. And his baby boy. Time skip. Days turn into weeks as weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. Urza was sitting alongside Izumi, as the both of them were, sitting down calmly as they watch their children. Mikato, being older than Boruto, she was on her feet. Boruto was now 2 years old. He started to walk, however he fall over most times. But yes, he started to walk. The years had been good. There has been peace. There has been no war, no conflict, nothing that would push the nation overboard. In fact, Urza and Naruto were thinking about having another baby. Yes, to give Boruto a younger brother or a younger sister as well. A lot has happened in these past years that went by. So much so within the village as well. Itachi wanted to extend his family. Yes, because right now, Izumi was pregnant again. However, this time it was twins, already finding out from the doctors. They were excited for this. They wanted to extend their family. Itachi always thought about having a larger family. While the Uchiha clan, even the Uzumaki clan now, was a part of his family, all of them being united in a way. While he never shared this dream with anyone when he was younger, but he always wanted to be a father surrounded by kids. When the time came for him to settle down, when the time came for his old age, to be surrounded by all of his kids, as he told them his stories. And as you can see, they were working on that, as she was pregnant with 2 more kids. Given the fact that she lost her parents at a young age, she also craved the lifestyle that Itachi was talking about, to be surrounded by kids. It was amazing. Mikato coming to her, calling her mom, coming to her with her problems, as she wanted to be there to take care of her. She wanted a large family, for her children to watch over each other and keep each other safe. As Mikato was already saying that she wanted to be a kunoichi. The life of a kunoichi was rough, but it was her daughter. She had full faith and confidence in her after all. It would never be against her, always with. As for Urza, both her and Naruto believed that the perfect number was 2. Strangely enough, they seemed to fully agree. Well, on most things, but not on all. They would like to hope for a little girl, but it wasn't up to them really, it was up to fate. But there was more development that was going on. Despite how close the families seemed, Mito was not Naruto's real blood. So, it wasn't that shocking when Mito and Sasuke came out to be dating. Yes, they were dating each other. The adults knew this for some time now. Well, not the precise information that they were dating, but they knew that they liked each other. They spent majority of their time together. They were always hanging out. They were going on dates before this, before they even knew. They just call it their practice. Yes, they went to get something to eat. They train. And they repeat that on occasions. These were little dates that they weren't even aware of when they were younger. However, they were grown now. And they were together. They have been for around 1 year and 2 months. Things were a bit rocky at first, as things changed when 2 people started to explore different avenues of dating. However, they've calmed down, and they seem to settle in a very good pattern as well. As for Kiri, it has made his evolution. They were part of the change. Aircrafts were now at the village as well. But they weren't the only one that was coming into the fold. The land of rain was now allied with the Uchiha nation, and because of their friendship and their bond that they share, they were spreading amongst their allies. The name the Great Five seemed to be withering away and slowly dying because the Uchiha nation, Kiri, the land of rain, the land of spring, those nations seem to be the ones that are mainly taking over. Countless support had fallen from the Hidden Stone and Kumo to the Uchiha nation and to Konoha as well. Yes, countless support because their lack of manpower over the years, it had not replenished, not at all. And people had business that they need to take care of now. Not to mention there was a lot of infighting going on at Kumo for some reason, as there was a lot of problem going on there. However, for the Hidden Stone, Oniki granddaughter had taken over. She was a very young Tsuchikage, a very headstrong young woman. She had not been on the battlefield. Oniki, it seems like he foresaw destruction and chaos as he made her stay home, which was probably the only reason now why she was alive. As for Naruto, situated within his office as he was finishing up some last minute work, a lot has happened, a lot perspective has changed over the last couple of years. Naruto was always planning on killing Danzo. However, since having a child, having Boruto being brought into the world, Naruto was more focused on keeping his people and his family safe, making sure that they were okay. Attacking Danzo now would lead to problems brewing. As much as he hated the idea, he had to simply let this one go. Naruto had gathered the Uchihas, the ones that had lost everything that day, as he needed to speak to them. As they all agreed as well, even Itachi, some things are better just left alone. They decided to leave it alone and move on, as they didn't want to be pushed in another conflict. Meanwhile, at the Hidden Rain, Nagato woke up to another beautiful morning. The nation was always crying, and that was a bad thing. The rain prevented a lot of economical construction within the village, a lot of growth, but now it was sun. There was a reason for that. There were powerful machines built across the village, empowered by technology and Fuinjutsu, that was disrupting the weather pattern, keeping the rain away. Not always though, as occasionally it did fall, but not consistently over and over again. Nagato was not alone though. In his bed was Konan. Neither of them had ever think about them together. That had never crossed their mind. His mind had been so focused and preoccupied on what he was doing that he never thought of it. But now, having the time to sit down and actually talk to her, having her there by his side, one night led to something more than the both of them thought. It was still new, as they had never really thought of it, but now they were falling in a pattern, as things was only getting better for them. Tourists was even coming to their village. Yes, to see the sights. Yes, a lot was happening. A lot of development, a lot of changes. However, at the moment, the land of swamp. This was a village that was allied with Naruto and his friends. The leader was a woman. Her name was Rika. She was sitting within her office, as she didn't have that much paperwork today. That was good, usually. She was crammed with paperwork. Her village was a very popular site because of their mining field, as they mine all sorts of metals, powerful metals that were used in many of the nowadays technology that was growing around the elemental nation. So yes, It was always a hassle, many paperwork. But not today though, as everything was going well. There has been no outside conflict or no war. Their village wasn't that large, but they did have a shinobi force. As she felt a bad feeling in her stomach though, she had no idea why. She wasn't hungry, she didn't want to go to the bathroom. Rika stepped towards a window that shined over her village. That is when she saw something that was nearby the gate. She immediately made her way. The moment she went outside, she heard screams. A lot of screaming. Her people started to rush into action as Rika found herself facing a monstrosity. It appeared out of nowhere, landing right on the balcony in front of her. The both of them were frozen for a moment as she did not move. It did not move. It simply looked at her and she looked at it. She raised her hands as she tried to move back. However, blood splashed all over, soaking the railing. It was chaos. The village was being invaded by strange creatures. It was pure chaos. This was not random. Of course it was planned. While there was a lot of things happening for people around the elemental nation, a lot of bad people were planning things as well. A lot of bad people. And it seems they were ready. And they were going after people that were allied with Naruto. Given the fact that the land of Swamp was allied with Naruto, actually, they were amongst the first. Rika had seen it beneficial to join Naruto, and now she was killed, and her village was being massacred. At the Uchiha Nation, she stepped inside as Urza looked towards Naruto. What's wrong? His reflection was reflecting back at the glass to her. There was a very serious look on his face, and he turned and faced her. Boruto, she was holding the boy in her arms. I have a strange feeling that something is not right, said Naruto. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want the next person to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm out. See you guys soon. Peace.